Hello. Mic is on. So basically, it's the as topic says, it's the pain and beauty of database management. So it's the what I'm trying to do is give some overview. What is the Monese and what we are doing with databases and how do we manage them. Basically, here you can see just some mix of keywords what are presenting me and just somehow related with me. And as I'm worked several years mostly in finance, then it's this is my background. And all the time I have somehow has been related with databases. I have worked as a developer, and administrator, and architect. So have seen in different angles. I think at least have seen something. Then, as I'm from Monese, then it's something about the company. Please, can you raise a hand who doesn't know anything about the Monese? So actually, this seems quite a valid slide here, just to speak about them. Then, who is from Monese? How many colleagues I have here? So not so many, but anyway, have some. So then you can, if you want to know more, then it's if you take the beers and some snacks, then you know from who to ask the questions, because definitely I cannot answer for all of them. So shortly, who we are. So basically, it's the Monese is can say it's the bank in your smartphone, mobile app. So and we identify ourselves as a fintech company, and everyone who is locates, so just is in EU, or including UK. Still, they're planning to Brexit, but yeah, still the same are. So it's done. If you need a bank card and just currency account, then it's the Monese can help you here. Just download our app to this onboarding process, and you can have this currency account and bank card within minutes. So simple as that. We have more than 2 million customers. So it's like LHV announced recently that they have 200,000. Then we can consider we have 10 times bigger than LHV. We have offices in 4 different locations in London, Tallinn, Lisbon, and Berlin. London and Tallinn are biggest ones. We have approximately 200 employees in both locations, and totally we have approximately 400 employees. So, any question about the Monese? If no, then later. What do you have?
Yeah. How do you distinguish yourself from the companies like, for example, TransferWise or Revolut? For example, do you give out the loans or just like borderless accounts? Whatever. Thank you.
We are better. So what we're going to just to present is just some short overview about the ecosystem, how it's what we have, how those systems work. Then it's more details about this backend databases, a little bit about data warehousing, and also what we are planning to implement to see how do we see our in future. So what are those three elephants? Just if you can have seen the picture that three elephants carry the earth, then it's a little bit inspired from there. First, we have no on-premise things, everything is in cloud. I didn't put here any cloud name because we just use so many different service providers that whatever name I use, it can be misleading. But our primary cloud provider where are hosted our databases is Amazon, and we for databases use mostly AWS services. Then our current mainstream is to use microservice architecture, and the total amount of microservice is approximately 80. So not all microservices have a dedicated database, and we developed them so rapidly then it's hard to say what is the exact number, but yeah, it's close to 100 microservices in our ecosystem. And the third one is definitely our people. Basically, it's the people who develop them and take care that all those services are up and running, and all our customers are served in very good way. As the subject told, and what is the pain and beauty, then it's from here it's the pain is that everything is so flexible and everything is changing so rapidly, and we have to all the time change ourselves. We all the time have to be capable to that's everything is different than it was yesterday. And if you take this hardware provisioning part from databases, then if you need a new database, then just few mouse clicks and you have it. You have to increase your storage, just few clicks and it is there. Same with the memory. Bad thing is, and if you, it's so easy to do, then it's you can just easily over provision all your hardware, and then if you have a bill from the AWS that the next month, then you can surprised. So it's this is definitely the hardest part. So ecosystem. I think we don't invent any word here, so it's just the easiest. If you take your phone, then it connects to API. API connects to a backend microservice, and backend microservice connects to a database. For backend databases, we use Postgre. Mostly it's the version at the moment 10.6, but we already started to use 11.5. So, but regardless the microservice, we still have some old monolithic systems that are sharedly used by different microservices. But yeah, that's we put our effort on that to sunset them and fully switch over for microservices only. So why do we need this database management at all? What's the point to have it? And maybe just put your data and don't restrict any access, but world is it maybe the nice place to live, and that's the reason why it's I think the reason for a database management is to ensure all data has to be available when it's required. Data is accessible only by authorized persons, and if you get data, then you can trust it, and you don't have to think that someone has changed it or something is missing. How do we protect our data? As already mentioned, this AWS is our main service provider. Then it's all functionality what is provided by AWS. It's VPC, subnet, VPN, everything what is can consider as a network layer. So this is the first layer. Then next is RDS host himself. So it's the every database has own security firewall rules. So it's defined only applications, only users who are authorized to access the database server have access for that database. So it's actually so quite a restricted access, and not anyone can freely access the server. Now, if we take the next one, then is Postgres SQL. Then it's basically this all user accounts. You have this access to the database. You have the user account, and at the moment we have approximately 200 database hosts. As all those microservices have dedicated databases and also dedicated database host, then it's helps us to ensure that the one microservice cannot takes down another microservice or service to a database. And last protection layer is database. Also, we can consider as authorization part. You have some grants has to be given for the user in order to access data or in order to make changes in database. But, from here, only pain comes. There is no beauty at all. So it's as you can see, there is a lot of things what can go wrongly. All those rules has to be in place. RDS host monitoring has to be in place. Logs has to be monitored. All database activities has to be monitored, and so on, so on. Tools what we use for database management. As we to be capable to monitor all this, to maintain all this farm of our databases, then we try to automate this as much as possible, and we use for infrastructure point of view Terraform. So it's we have implemented list of pipelines or scripts that take care of it. So if you need a new RDS host as a server, then you execute a process what fulfills all those steps and does the same thing always exactly on the same way, regardless who was exactly the administrator who created the database, to minimize different handwriting aspects and ensure all names are according to name convention rules. For automation, we have used shell scripting and Python. Just help us here a lot. And if it's the automation doesn't help us anymore, then we have to do some manual work as well. But we try to minimize this as much as possible. So if it takes the automation is here this the beauty part, and manual work is the pain what we try to get rid of. So this was about backend databases and Postgres, but Postgres isn't the only database what we use. We also have a data warehouse, and for data warehousing we use Snowflake. Snowflake is purely cloud-based data warehouse system, and the real beauty of what it is, and there is the storage is or data is separated from computing power. For instance, if you have 3 different teams who need access to data, then it's first is ETL process, then is BI analyst, BI reporting, and data science team. Then all those three teams can either query out data or modify data without disturbing each other. Every team may have own dedicated computing resource, and there is no risk that one team can directly impact another. For ETL process, we use Airflow. Basically, it's the process looks like at the moment, and we have daily basis export, extract, added and modified data from backend databases, store them in S3 buckets, and import to a data warehouse. And all the process is orchestrated by Airflow. And for reporting is Tableau. It is a nice tool to just visualize all the data what we have in data warehouse. So, and then some information that what we are planning to change, what kind of changes we're planning to implement. And first one is to implement to be more on that way than infrastructure as a code, and use for that Terraform Enterprise. We use Terraform already today, but the target is to put all infrastructure configuration into Terraform. So, for instance, if we take this we need completely new ecosystem, then we can just execute some Terraform scripts, and they build absolutely full ecosystem. It has all network rules, all infrastructure components, and this is ready system with very few steps to do that. Then one pain of Postgres is that all users are defined inside of the server. So if you have a 200 database, and the person has to be capable to log into all those 200 databases, then there is need to create 200 user accounts. And all those user accounts may have different passwords. To not overload ourselves with this kind of management, then the thing what we want to implement is all those authentication and authorization part comes through one account management server. So at the moment we use Jump Cloud for that. I would hope that we can achieve it. And the third target is related with backend, with microservices and backend databases, as well with the data warehouse. It's a Snowflake. So it's something, some event happens inside of the microsystem, then Snowflake then it's the information about this event is published into queuing system, probably Kafka, and then everyone who is interested about this event can collect the data and do own actions. So the one aim is to have near real-time data warehousing. All the data is available in data warehouse with very short delay, and that has happened in backend systems. And if you feel that you can do all those things better, then you are more than welcome to join us. So, QA part.
Thank you, Toomas. I have a question. So where's the blockchain?
Blockchain comes as well. So it's the is it in our plans? Yes, it is.
For real? Cool. Who has other more serious questions? There you go.
You said you're using Terraform Enterprise. What's the advantage with that one versus the open source version?
The expected advantage is that all this information, all those scripts, all information is collected into one place, then in separate environment. They are not spread over different admin notebooks or so. No. Also collect all those things into one place.
Hello. If you are using RDS, how do you, and one of your products is card payments, how do you manage near zero downtime for like upgrades?
Please, can you manage what?
So near zero downtime for upgrades, how you manage major upgrades, minor upgrades with the minimum impact on customers?
So the minimum impact comes, and all those schema changes has to be backward compatible. So if we have to change something in database structure side, then they don't cause long downtimes. It may happen that we cannot avoid that, but at least this is the way how we try to implement those changes.
If I may ask another question, how do you build the data? Where do you consume the data that is pushed into Snowflake?
All those basically we try to query out, just to extract records that are either inserted or modified. The records for that have timestamps, and based on those timestamps, is it possible to identify what data needs to be extracted and sent to a data warehouse.
Just another question, like a follow-up on this. Have you built something on your own, or are you using a third-party tool to inject?
There is no third-party tools for that. If you mean if you keep in mind some plugins on database side, then no.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I have a question. How legal requirements influence your process or limits your technical capabilities in terms of databases, management, legal requirements? Do they just a limit for you, some restriction, or it's okay, no problem with this?
I think we cannot live without restrictions. So definitely there's some restrictions are required, but those restrictions has to be balanced between that we can serve our customers, and at the same time we can also develop our systems and we can maintain those systems.
I'm asking because fintech is finance is very regulated. We know this sector is quite regulated, so it's interesting how it's like a problem, becomes a problem or not for you. That's why.
As we don't have at the moment so fully bank license, then those we don't have so external restrictions, but definitely yes, we have to implement restrictions that are coming from GDPR. Definitely those are things what we have to consider, but also we are just aiming to implement restrictions that are coming from PCI DSS. And yeah.
Thank you.
And I would like to express like an interest to the main topic itself. So all the topic was mainly about the beauty and the pain of data management. So what would you like call as like the biggest pain? Like this special sort of pain, like what was the biggest one? Like
the biggest pain can be that we have to teach people that who use database. If you take this, everything was related with computers can maybe easily automate. You can use some patterns to deploy something, so on. But people want to have or need some freedom. And now you always have to find the balance that the restrictions what are coming from those frameworks and the processes what we have implemented, and that people sometimes need to do something differently. Those processes can restrict them, and now you have to either explain to people yes, I understand what you want and what you need, but yeah, that is the reason why we cannot offer that, or we just said, okay, it's understandable, we have to change our processes.
We have a small gift for you as well.